Welcome back to our Part of Speech series, where you learn about the different part of speech in English grammar. In today's video we will learn about interjection. Interjection fall on the 8th number on the part of speech. To learn about other part of speech in English grammar, please check our previous videos. For your reference, we have already shared the links of all the part of speech videos in comment. Do not forget to check it out. If you like to read, we have picked up some of the best material for you. Click the link in the description to know more. Without further delay, let's us begin to our video. What is interjection? To understand the meaning of interjection, let's take a look at its origin. Greek and Latin intellectuals as well as the Mid-East have contributed to the different perspectives of interjections in language throughout history. The Greeks held that interjections fell into the grammatical category of adverbs. They thought interjections modified the verb much in the same way as adverbs do. Thus interjections were closely connected to verbs. Unlike their Greek counterparts, many Latin scholars took the position that interjections did not rely on verbs and were used to communicate emotions and abstract ideas. They considered interjections to be their own independent part of speech. Further, the Latin grammarians classified any small non-word utterances as interjections. Several hundred years later, the 13th and 14th century Mid-East took inconsistent approaches to interjections. Some, such as Thomas of Erfurt, agreed with the former Greeks that the interjection was closely tied to the verb, while others like Segur of Courtrai held that the interjection was its own part of speech syntactically, much like the Latin scholars. Use of the word interjection in English actually precedes the use of interject. The first records of interjection come from the 1400s, but interject isn't recorded until the late 1500s. Interject comes from the Latin interjecere, meaning to throw between, from inter, between, and jacere, to throw. A lot of interjections express feelings, like surprise, disgust, frustration, or excitement. Some interjections express requests or demands. Some indicate pain or disappointment or dismay. Other interjections are used to react to a realization or something someone has said, like aha, eureka, bingo, and duh. Still others are used to get someone's attention, like hey and yo. In grammar, interjections usually stand alone, meaning they are often separate from a sentence, as in ouch. I stubbed my toe. That's because they express something all by themselves. They don't need nouns or verbs to complete the thought. In more general terms, an interjection is a comment inserted into an ongoing discussion. An interjection can be an interruption, but interjections are a normal part of conversation. Definition of interjection. We are going to learn about interjections. Stupendous, amazing, sensational. Interjections are an excitable part of grammar that can express strong emotions. And that means that we get to use exclamation points. Hooray! Exclamation points. Before we wake up the neighbors with all of this excitement, we first need to learn about what interjections are and how to properly use them in grammar. An interjection is a word or phrase used in a short exclamation. Interjections are often used to express sudden bursts of emotion such as anger, shock, joy, or confusion. Interjections are not considered to be complete sentences and often lack any major parts of speech. Typically, an interjection is very short, just one to a few words in length. Interjections often end in an exclamation point. List of common interjections: hey, hi, oh, ow, ah, ha, Oh, whoops, yikes, meh, yuck, wow, phew. In writing, it is possible to turn anything into an interjection by using an exclamation point. Listed below are just some examples. Yes, you, unbelievable, no way, never, dad, outrageous, interesting, faster, thank you, more cowbell. Primary and secondary interjections. Interjections may be subdivided and classified in several ways. A common distinction is based on relations to other word categories. Primary interjections are interjections first and foremost, while secondary interjections are words from other categories that come to be used as interjections in virtue of their meaning. Primary interjections are generally considered to be single words. Secondary interjections can consist of multi-word phrases, or interjectional phrases, but can also include single-word alarm words, swear and taboo words, and other words used to show emotion. Although secondary interjections tend to interact more with the words around them, a characteristic of all interjections, whether primary or secondary, is that they can stand alone. For example, it is possible to utter an interjection like ouch or bloody hell on its own, whereas a different part of speech that may seem similar in function and length, such as the conjunction and, cannot be uttered alone. Further distinctions can be made based on function. Exclamations and curses are primarily about giving expression to private feelings or emotions, while response particles and hesitation markers are primarily directed at managing the flow of social interaction. Interjections and other word classes. Interjections are sometimes classified as particles, a catch-all category that includes adverbs and onomatopoeia. The main thing these word types share is that they can occur on their own and do not easily undergo inflection, but they are otherwise divergent in several ways. A key difference between interjections and onomatopoeia is that interjections are typically responses to events, while onomatopoeia can be seen as imitations of events. Interjections can also be confused with adverbs when they appear following a form of the verb go, which may seem to describe a manner of going. However, this is only a superficial similarity, as the verb go in the first example does not describe the action of going somewhere. One way to differentiate between an interjection and adverb in this position is to find the speaker of the item in question. If it is understood that the subject of the utterance also utters the item, then it cannot be an adverb. Routines are considered as a form of speech acts that rely on an understood social communicative pattern between the addressee and addressed. This differs from an interjection that is more of a strategic utterance within a speech act that brings attention to the utterance but may or may not also have an intended addressed. In addition, routines generally are multi-word expressions whereas interjections tend to be single utterances. Under a different use of the term particle, particles and interjections can be distinctions in that particles cannot be independent utterances and are fully a part of the syntax of the utterance. Interjections, on the other hand, can stand alone and also are always preceded by a pause, separating them from the grammar and syntax of other surrounding utterances. When to use interjections in general, interjections are not used in formal writing and speech. However, they are very common in informal and casual writing in speech. There are several reasons why we would want to use interjections. Reason 1. We use them naturally. You probably use interjections in your regular speech without even knowing it. When a person is surprised, overcome with joy, or accidentally stubs their toe, they will probably let loose an interjection or two. When people are filled with strong emotions, they are usually too excited to remember proper grammar and might shout interjections instead. At the same time, people often use interjections when they want to be brief or are in a hurry. Interjections are perfect for when you just want to give a short yeah or nope. Reason 2. They liven up realistic dialogue in writing. Authors often want their dialogue to sound real and like something that people would actually say. Because people often use interjections in their casual speech, you will often see authors sprinkle interjections into dialogue or a character's inner thoughts. Interjections are also useful to represent grunts, sighs, mumbles, yells, gasps, and other noises people often make. Reason 3. They communicate intensity in writing and casual speech. People will often use interjections to catch people's attention or alert others that something is exciting, dangerous, or important. For example, take a look at the following examples. You just won $1 million. Wow! You just won $1 million. Congratulations! I need you to get me a clean towel now. Ack! I need you to get me a clean towel. Now! In each pair, the second example expresses a lot more emotion by using interjections. Even when reading them, you may be able to picture exciting moments that would cause people to become emotional and use interjections. I spoke to both Abby, who didn't know what happened, and Will, who did. Interjections versus conjunctions. Interjections are used much differently than another part of speech known as conjunctions. Conjunctions are words that we use to connect words, phrases, clauses, and sentences. Conjunctions include words such as and, or, but, because, so, also, and unless. While interjections typically like to hang out by themselves, conjunctions never like to be alone and usually insert themselves into the middle of sentences. The following examples show how we use interjections and conjunctions differently. Interjection. Oops. I dropped my keys. Conjunction. She likes to eat peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. Interjection. No, I'm not ready to go yet. Please. Conjunction. Things could be better, but they could also be a lot worse. Interjection. Well, this was not my best idea. Sorry. Conjunction. You can visit the library whenever you have the chance. Interjections across languages. Interjections can take very different forms and meanings across cultures. For instance, the English interjections, gee, and wow, have no direct equivalent in Polish, and the closest equivalent for Polish, fu, is the different sounding, yuck. Curses likewise are famously language-specific and colorful. On the other hand, interjections that manage social interaction may be more similar across languages. For instance, the word, ha, used when one has not caught what someone just said, is remarkably similar in 31 spoken languages around the world, prompting claims that it may be a universal word. Similar observations have been made for the interjections, oh, and megameter per meter hum. Across languages, interjections often use unique sounds and syllable types that are not commonly used in other parts of the vocabulary. For instance, interjections like brr and shish are made entirely of consonants, whereas in virtually all languages, words have to feature at least one vowel-like element. Some, like tut-tut and ahem, are written like normal words, but their actual production involves clicks or throat clearing. The phonetic atypicality of some interjections is one reason they have traditionally been considered as lying outside the realm of language. Thanks for watching. Want to know more about English grammar? We post a weekly video on our YouTube channel. We also post daily video on English vocabulary to improve your communication skill. Please like our videos and subscribe to our channel. Also press the bell icon so you'll be notified when we upload our videos. See you soon. Take care and keep learning.